Okay everyone, we're headed to a non-specific island and we have to establish a forward base. Where? Well, in Beachhead of course.
RetroKork.
This game from 1983 is a take on films like First Blood 2, Rambo, or any other 80s action flick in which the heroes, most likely US forces, try to liberate an island from a tyrannical dictator. Is it just me, or does this seem like it's wish fulfillment for frustrated Cold War people from the US to you as well? I mean, it sounds like it's about Castro. Okay, so let's see. The unnamed villainous dictator has retreated to his fortress. Well, as you'll find out, it looks more like a molehill. Well, his fortress is called Kunlin. So, the story seems not to take place in Cuba, huh? Or on Cuba. But that's okay. Where it takes place is kind of ambivalent. The game places it somewhere in the Pacific. Anyway, this game consists of 6 levels, one of them being completely optional, but actually suggested. Just saying. In the first screen, the map room, you decide whether the fleet heads directly for the enemy, or if you're willing to sneak in through a somewhat risky secret passageway. This passageway is filled with sea mines as well as torpedoes going about. But the trade-off is that the enemy's fleet is less dangerous, less aggressive, less active. If you go in directly, yeah, you'll end up in a world of pain. Just saying. So let's assume you take the side route, the secret passageway. Here you'll have to steer the ships one by one through the maze of mines and moving torpedoes. If you've made it past the secret passage of mind-boggling science, or if you decided to go head-to-head on the enemy fleet, you'll have to deal with airplanes. Not bombers, but gunners. So your ship can take 20 hits on the easiest setting, 10 hits on later settings, on higher difficulties. And you need to shoot down the opposing airships with the AA guns, the anti-aircraft guns. When you've shot down enough of them, well, it's time for ship-to-ship combat. In this mode, you're trying to hit the enemy's vessels with the big guns. So you need to set the angle of the gun, and depending on the angle, your shot is too short, too long, or a direct hit. The game tells you how many meters you're off, allowing you to zero in on the enemy. A small hint here, divide the distance you're off by 200 and you know how many degrees you need to adjust your gun. Oh, and the enemy fires back at you as well. Now, after the enemy's fleet has been sunk, the air force reduced to a laughing stock, it's time to land on the shores. Every ship of yours that survives this far can unload and deploy up to 2 tanks onto the shore. And the shores, well, as the apparently the entire area around the fortress is crawling with the dictator's forces. If you hit a wall an enemy installation are shot by the enemy, or heck, if you even hit the score you gain from firing and destroying the enemy, you lose a tank. Yes, it's that high quality programming. Also, the enemy tanks try to be at the same height as your tank, so they follow you. Now we've reached the fortress, and like I just said before, Kunlun looks more like a molehill, with the large turret plopped on top. Fire your tank's gun at the white spots, and sooner or later the enemy will surrender and the turret will explode. If the turret zeroes in on you, well, time to unload another tank. The game has a sequel, Beachhead 2, The Dictator Strikes Back. But for that game I'm going to need a stiff drink, and I'm not a heavy drinker. Also in Germany, both Beachhead and Beachhead 2 were put on what is commonly referred as the index. And they were not allowed to be sold over the counter, basically. As they were considered harmful to the development of the youth. Well, both games are off the list since 2010, but let's face it, these days, yeah, the story and gameplay of Beachhead and Beachhead 2, which I probably will talk about in the future, they wouldn't draw in an audience at all. Next time we'll be taking a look at a computer system intrusion game again. Well, this game is more faithful to reality, at least, from what I've seen and remembered. We're going to talk about, in 2 weeks, about System 15,000 or 150,000. 15,000. System 15,000.